And now it's my pleasure to introduce you to Chris. Chris is the CEO of RYNO Stragtegic Solutions, a leading digital marketing company that is focused on the home services industry since 2008. He is also the host of the popular home services podcast, To The Point. Chris is an experienced business owner, investor, philanthropist with a heart for the trades. He's done thousands of keynotes, breakouts, and webinars on successful digital marketing best practices for home services companies during his tenure. And here he is now to share all his wisdom and knowledge with you. Chris, take it away.
Wonderful. What's up, Service World Expo? I am really bummed to not be there in person, because if you see me give a breakout before or a keynote, I usually burn like a solid 700-800 calories because I'm all over the place because I'm super high energy. So it's a little weird to be doing this virtually. And I'm not going to say I'm a fan of it because I don't want to be a fan. Like, I love the human interaction piece of this, but I'm going to give it my best go. I've learned a couple of things through COVID, and I think you guys have too. I learned that, and some of you have probably had to learn the same thing, is I had to become a teacher. That was fun. So what I learned was that turns out what my son's teacher, my 9-year-old son's teacher, was saying about him being disruptive in class is totally true, because it's a pain teaching him. So I'm kind of ready for things to get back to normal, because I'd like to get back to my normal job and not being so much of a teacher. But we also learned a couple of things that are really important to our business. And that's one, that during all the weird COVID stuff, which I hope I don't ever have to say again going into 2021, because I'm really sick of it, is you learned that you hope that your brand was on point, because you needed to be able to have that solid branding of your company to help sustain business. If not, you better hope that you did some creative marketing and pushed ahead with some marketing and got it on point. But you had to know where your numbers were, right? You had to know where your revenue was. Like, cash flow was king, to know what was going on with your business through all this, like, what was going to happen type stuff. So this is where one of the topics I'm going to talk about is usually a topic I don't get to talk about very often unless it's one-on-one or in breakouts, but it's my most favorite topic to talk about, because it's the most important thing it's the end result of everything that we do in a digital marketing company like mine. It's what are we actually doing, and what's it turning into in regards to revenue, to the dollar, so we always know where we stand with each other. Okay, so I'm gonna do something a little bit differently. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my screen on, but I wanna do something slightly different. Usually if I give a presentation, because it's so interactive, I like to have the room, yell out if I say something that has value that they think they're going to implement and it's going to change the business positively, they'll yell out boom, or they'll yell out cha-ching, or whatever it is based on the different things I've been. I can't do that this time, and I feed off that energy. So I'm going to do something slightly different, all right? And this is a risk, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I want you to get out your phone, all right, unless you're on your phone, but I want you to get your phone out, okay? And I'm going to give you my cell phone number, right? My personal cell phone number. And here's what I want you to do is, if you hear that thing that gives you value or something that you think you're going to implement throughout this presentation, I want you to text me right now, or right when it happens, a boom or fist bump, muscle, whatever you feel like, that just lets me know, and I can kind of hear that little thing come through while we're in this presentation. And if you put your name next to it, I'll give you a little shout out with it too, because I don't know about you, but I like to make this stuff a little bit more interesting. But I can't see you there. I can't see you if you give me a fist bump. So this is the only way I can figure it out. So cell phone number is 317-417-0368. Now listen, after this thing's over, if you start texting me super late or over and over again, I'm going to put it on Do Not Disturb. So don't abuse it, okay? But let me hear you. If you guys hear something good, I want to share that stuff with you. So I'm going to go right into my presentation. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. Perfect. Stop feeling and start knowing. Man, I love talking about this. So too many times I've had, even our own customers before they became customers, or people who come to me just asking for advice, or people who've come through To The Point Home Services podcast and said, man, how do I know if my marketing is really working or my digital marketing is really working? All we do is digital marketing. I don't do anything else other than that. But you know what we've been really good at is tracking everything to know for a fact if it's working. It allows me to hold our team accountable on, are they really producing for you? And it allows you to know what's actually working, what's real. Because the thorn in my side as an owner in this company has been having to deal with other agencies that aren't being transparent. You're paying them money, right? You're paying them money to help bring in you new business so you can grow your company. That's about as personal as it gets, right? So you got to know for a fact exactly what that's doing for you. Have to. There's no other reason. Now, is it a lot of work? Absolutely. It's a lot of work. So when I go through some of these things that we're talking about that we've done, you can do them, or you can find partners to do them and help you out. And there's multiple options you've got there. But for God's sake, do something. And please, you owe it. And you owe it, one, to your company. And you owe it to your employees. And even more importantly, you owe it to your families, right? This is your livelihood. And if you work within the company like this and you're a marketing manager, this is part of your responsibility, is to know definitively exactly what every dollar is doing. Not just the end result, not just the closed revenue. That doesn't tell you the whole picture. It doesn't tell you the front end that you might have missed. So we're going to capture both those things. I'm going to give you some tactics on how to do it. All right. So quickly, the agenda is we're going to talk about the power of partnerships, right? We have partnerships because we can't get it all done ourselves. We are humble enough to ask for help when we need it. And I think that COVID's exposed, not even really exposed, just really shown that everybody's willing to help. There's been more hands extended to help people in the last 9 months than I've ever noticed before. It's fantastic to watch how the industry has stepped up for each other. Now the world knows that we're essential business. Now it's good to know that our essential businesses have good hearts too, and they're willing to help each other. So the power of partnerships we'll go through. How you must be tracking. Okay, so I'm going to give you the how you should be doing it, and then the what you must be tracking, or what your agencies must be tracking. What a scrubbed lead report looks like. Enough of this, everything's a lead business, all right? Not everything's a lead. You've got to scrub that out and find out what's a lead, because when you're paying an agency, you're paying them for new business. So they should be running and tracking and giving you information on legit new business. Okay, and then how to track some print. Even though we don't do any print, we've had plenty of people ask us on how you can track it, and we'll give you some tactics on it, as well as one little creative piece that I love to share. And if you see me present before, you'll know what I'm going to share. And then how to connect the dots with your field management software, or your dispatch software, or your QuickBooks, whatever you're using to capture that revenue, the closed revenue. I'm going to show you how to connect the dots between the opportunity and the revenue, so you can see the entire picture. You will never have to guess again on exactly what every dollar is doing for your business and how to project. Okay, good stuff. And then the CSR accountability tracking. Okay, so at the end of the day, we do all this work, we're tracking all the revenue. If the CSR can't book it, what good is it? But we can hold them accountable with the same information. All right, this is the stuff we've been doing for 12 years, since I was doing it when it was just me. So we're going to get into these things right now. And if you keep doing these things, you're going to be moving on up. Now, listen, if you're some young bucks on here, you have no clue who the Jeffersons are. And if you do, good for you. That's good parenting right there. But if you do these things, I promise you, you're going to move your business forward. So the power of partnerships, okay? For a good example I'll give you is, even though we're a digital agency and been in the trades, 12 years, we didn't have it all figured out either. So I swing for the fences and ask for help. So we created a partnership with a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, arguably one of the best social media marketing companies, branding guys, in the entire world, to ask for help. Why? To help you. So that way we could figure out what's the best thing we can do in the social space, in the voice search space, to help us operationally, to make sure that we're doing our best for you. We asked for help. You should do the same, right? So marketing partnerships are extremely key, right? But you got to choose the right people. So some of the information I'm going to give you today will be things that you should be asking when you're trying to find the right marketing agency, or if you're going to make a change or whatever it might be. And then of course, technology. Like technology, there's so much cool stuff now to help you with apps or with scheduling system, online scheduling systems. There's so many cool things that you can use now to help move your business forward. We are in a speed is a necessity time right now, and that's never going to change. So you want to take advantage of these technology partners you have and help it move your business forward. Data. I mean, if you're a nerd like me, or if you're not a nerd like me, nerds do good stuff. Nerds study data. Nerds love to look at numbers, because if you study the data can move you forward with less risk. Now, I'm super high risk, but I like the data side of things because it shows us, you can see patterns in data. You can make good decisions based off of data. Organizations like Service Roundtable, lean on your organizational partnerships, right? They're here to help you. That's the whole reason it exists, is to help you and bring some of these solutions to you. And then last but not least, human beings. Like, let's not forget about us human beings, right? If you find the right people, the people can move your business forward, right? Find good, loyal people that can move your business forward. People that will want to put in the work to help you move your business forward. Human beings, okay? You can hear me talk about that a few times. So how you must be tracking. You got to hold your marketing agencies or marketing managers, and if you're a marketing manager working with a marketing agency, you have got to hold them accountable with real numbers, real measurable metrics, and real revenue. So no more of this a lead business. None. Zero. I've been preaching this for years, and still this is a problem. So I try to move every agency to be on the same, like, rising tide raises all ships approach, right? This is the right way to be a partner and not a vendor, is you track to real numbers, good, bad, or indifferent. You track the real numbers, and that transparency and that trust will help you grow in a partnership with you, between you and your agency. And if not, it's going to find out, are they really doing a good job for you or not? You will no longer have to feel like it's working, and you will know that it's working. So moving on. Thanks for, oh my gosh, people are blowing me up. Thank you. What you must be tracking. So in the digital space, obviously website. You got to track everything coming in through that site. You know, you want to know who's coming in, what are they looking at, what pages are they going to, are they looking at your coupons, they're looking at the financing offers, are they submitting credit apps so you can get pre-approval before they actually buy anything? Where are they coming through? Are they coming through pay-per-click campaign that you're paying for? Are they coming through your SEO campaign that you're paying for? Because a lot of times you're like, what the hell does SEO even mean? Like, what's it doing? So you got to know exactly how your rankings look there. What calls are coming in from your SEO efforts. Branded. Okay, branded effort. If somebody if somebody's tracking leads for you and they're giving you an all-in thing, why are they giving you a lead as a branded lead, a direct traffic? The majority of the traffic coming into your site is going to be branded traffic or repeat business, unless you're a brand new company. So you can't let them take credit for that, right? You've got to have it split up. Social, obviously, with all the stuff going on, social is already huge. It's even more huge now. And now I'm seeing all these different social media expert, trade expert companies coming out of the woodwork. And you have to understand, just because you can get 80 leads through social don't mean they're great leads. Maybe 2 of those can pass a credit report. A credit check, and you can actually do business with them. So it's not the volume of a lead, it's the quality of the lead that matters. But if you track it, you'll know. And so these are things I'm going to help with too. Same thing with chat. I love chat. The chat option or the text message option through your Google My Business listing, like, track these things. LSA program. We got involved in the LSA program back in like 2014 when it was called Google Home Services. Anybody remember that? So back in the day when it was way different and not everybody could be a part of it. But it's continuing to change and it's not going away. So you got to stay on top of it and you got to track it and you have to manage it to its fullest ability to really get the best out of it. And then, of course, your CSRs. So what I'm going to go into next, again, is what you must expect from these things, okay? So the monthly report. At minimum, you should have a human being from that company, your agency, talking to you about your strategy, not their strategy or their listening to you, talking to your strategy, but based on your data that's coming in, the stuff that they track from you. So you should, at minimum, be getting a monthly report 24/7, okay? You should have access to a dashboard, something that you can go in and reference. If you're a marketing manager and you're held accountable to somebody else, you want to be able to have that partnership where you can rely on them to get you information so you're prepared for anything you need to go into, right? Or if it's an agency you're working with, to hold them accountable to get you the information that you need to know how to move the business forward. Okay, human call listeners. This is something that I get often, actually, is human beings answering or listening to the phone calls. Can you have a piece of software listen to it? Yes. That has keyword triggers? Yes, you can. I have 50 plus people on our call listening and reporting team. Okay. Does that mean I want to have that many people? It's just what it takes to listen to the call volumes. And what I get from a human being is a human being can hear the tone. It can hear if you missed a CSR missed an objection. It can hear if Jill needs extra skill training on how to close a service lead or a tune-up lead. A human being can hear these things, and human being can hear how it's being set up. There's a lot of stuff you can get from a human listening to it that is far exceeds what you think you'll save and having to pay somebody to listen to those calls. The outcome far exceeds what you would save. So the cost per lead, okay, hear me, cost per lead. A lead is a new bookable service or install lead that was not a past customer or referral, somebody not in your system already. That's a lead. If nothing else, make sure somebody reports on that number, because then you can get a cost per lead based on that number. You can get a revenue, a return on investment based on that number. So you know specifically what a dollar is worth with the agency that you're working with, okay? Scrub leads, I'm gonna go through this with you too on what scrub leads look like by service. So you wanna know what's coming through, that's a service lead, an install lead, a drain cleaning lead, a water heater lead, electrical lead, whatever it is, you wanna know specifically what's actually coming in. So when you're gonna get a cost per lead, you can do it based on the actual service. So let's say you're super, like at Phoenix, we had 34 days of 110 degree weather here. We had a monster summer. It's still 100 degrees out here. But you have to know, hey, if I'm super booked out still on service leads or install leads, you need to change and say, hey, I need to pull back on service and switch to install, or pull back on install and switch to service. If you have these metrics in place, you can figure out what you need to do and move the levers back and forth. But you got to have all this information to know how to do it, or to even forecast. Like if you're going to bring on another technician in a specific market, if you have this information, you'll know what to expect, or at least a pretty damn close idea of what to expect before you onboard that new technician or you do an acquisition. A lot of times this is why private equity will come to us and ask, hey, that might have bought multiple of our customers, or they'll bring us in to do a digital marketing for them, and they're going to acquire another company. They'll ask us, what do we think we can pull in this market? It's because we're tracking this kind of data. You can do the same. That's the benefit of having all this information. So lead tracking per channel. So lead tracking per channel would be like, what am I getting? How many service leads am I getting through pay-per-click? How many service leads am I getting through SEO? How many service leads am I getting through social or install or drain cleaning leads through, through chat? Whatever it is, if you can drill that deep into it, figure out what leads are coming in through what channel, and you'll know that cost per lead. So if you have a set budget, you'll really know how to dial that thing in based on what you need and what you need right now. Okay, because you should be agile with this. So this will allow you to do that. It sounds like a lot of work. It is. But again, you don't have to do it all on your own. That's why partners come in and come into play and help you with this type of stuff. After hours leads. This is something that I've tried to solve forever. And I can't do it. And so thankfully there's some partners that do this. But after hours leads are really good leads if you actually answer the phone, right? But if your answering service answers the phone, it's just watch for the jab, jab, right hook, right? Because you don't necessarily know how they're going to handle that call, right? Let's just leave it at that. So it's just, you got to find a good partner there and then hold them accountable. But you got to track the after hours leads to see how many are coming in, because if they butchered a lead, you paid for them to butcher that lead. So you got to hold them accountable to get it done. So missed calls. The missed calls piece of this is extremely important too. It's something that shouldn't even be an issue right now, and it's still an issue. Missed call reports are something that you want to see. Hopefully, if you have a missed call come through your line, you get a report that lets you know to reach back out and know that it came through instantly, and you can reach back out to the person who called in and hopefully catch them. But there's no reason you should be missing a call, right? So it's nice to see if those missed calls are coming during the day, which is its own set of problems that you need to work on and get fixed, or if the missed calls are coming in after hours. So it's your after hours agency that's missing, which is another deal that we need to get fixed, right? That's an absolute no. So, but you still got to track those things. So web visitor lead conversions. What I mean by that is really it's easy to get traffic into a website. So it's really a non-factor to look at that in our world. But what I like to look at is, of that traffic, what is actually converting into a legit new opportunity to sell something to, right? Because that's what you're in business to do. The only reason your website exists is to convert leads. That's its job. Right? It could be new leads, it could be existing leads, it could be referral leads, whatever it is. It's our funnel to get them in, to make them call you to do business, so they can pay you money to take care of them. That's its job. So we want to track those things so you can have a measurable conversion rate month over month to see how's the agency doing. Is there peaks and valleys? Booking rate, close and booking rate. So same thing. Once all this stuff comes in, you want to make sure you're keeping track on what's actually getting booked, right? You're paying the agency to bring in lead volume through whatever means that they're using, but you still got to close it, right? That's on you to close it. But if you're capturing all this data, you'll find out what their closing percentages are and be able to catch it and share it with, the agency can share it with you. Or if you're doing it yourself, you'll know who's closing at what rate and who needs help and get it fixed now versus waiting 30 days or 45 days until you get your next report to fix it. No, fix it now so we're not wasting money. So use this information to make changes, internal changes, operational changes now, and it's going to help you so much right then. You don't have to wait for it. And we'll go through some of that. Now, ultimately, the whole goal is here is, last I checked, you're for profit, right? So you're a business for profit. So when you spend $1, you'd like to make a positive return. I'm no different, right? The best way that we can know what we're doing is by tracking all this stuff. If you do all of these things, and I'm going to give you some more little tips on how to do it when we go into the next phase on what a scrub lead report looks like, is if you do these things, I promise you, you walk out of this thing and your company is immediately better. Immediately better if you just implement one of these things, okay? So moving on, scrubbed lead tracking report. That's what we call it here. Call it what you want. But again, it's taking all the calls that have come in through any of those channels, like whether it be SEO, PPC, website, social, whatever it is, listening to every single one of those phone calls, which is an awful job, by the way, and this company is listening to all your phone calls every single day, but it has so much value to it. Because what it does is going to separate all the stuff that wasn't a new lead, because you're not paying your agency for repeat business, you're paying them for new, legit, bookable leads. So a new customer is a bookable service or install lead that was not a past customer or referral. So the secret to scrub leads, I'm sure this is going to shock all of you. The secret to scrub leads is human beings. Good old heart-beating, blood-pumping human beings, okay? Let me go into what that means. This is why a human being picks up that phone and listens to every recorded phone call that comes through and start to understand how your business functions. If the same human being is listening to all your calls, they understand your CSRs, they understand about your company, they know what to listen for, they know who's having issues, they know who's making improvements. There's so much value in that. Okay, they can listen to that to figure out this call came through the PPC, the pay-per-click line. It was a service lead. Yes, the call was booked. No, they weren't the past customer. Boom, that one's tracked. New lead, call booked. So there's a new install lead if it's your air conditioning company. If it's a drain cleaning lead that comes in, was it booked? If it was a water heater lead that came in, was it booked? Was it not booked? Did it come through SEO? Did this CSR, did Jill book it? Did Mike not book it? If a human being's listening to this, they can document those things. Pretty simple, right? And you can start to keep track of, oh my gosh, all right, I can see that Mike's really performing off of PPC leads. Maybe we start putting him on these PPC leads so that number forwards to his line. Like there's a lot of good data you can use to really drill down with what's actually happening inside your organization, okay? As much as it has nothing to, like you're not, the next one would be parts calls. You're not in the game of selling parts, right? But the parts calls still come in. Now, maybe it turns into a service lead, but 99% of the time it doesn't. So, but you still got to listen to it and segment it out, right? You got to put it in its parts category. Same thing with missed calls. Same thing like I've already talked about. Missed call comes in. You want to classify it and put it in the missed call category. I love to share that number and then attach a number to it because you actually paid to miss that phone call. And the other thing is, what was the call going to be? That's the stuff that bothers me, is when somebody has 20 missed phone calls, does that mean all of them are going to be an actual customer? No, but it does also mean that none of them were going to be. So somewhere in there, you missed a sale and revenue, not just the missed call, and you paid for it. You paid for that, right? Unacceptable, right? But it happens. So it's just recognizing it and then actually fixing it, okay? So, and then you got to go into your booking rate per CSR. I don't do any call coaching for CSRs, nothing like that, but you can certainly identify from listening to these phone calls what CSRs need help, like who is good at booking calls and who's not good at booking calls. And from listening to every single phone call, the good news is that you're not just hoping that, and if you're using a call coaching company now, and they're like picking out 5 or 6 different phone calls to train off of, I know we've used them before for our teams. But when you listen to every single call, you find a lot of opportunities to make changes with. And even if you're not using a call coaching company to help you, you can just let your CSR or whoever's listening to your phone calls listen to these phone calls when you catch them. And sometimes that will start to correct. Like you may have to give some direction on them, right? They don't know how to overcome an objection. You have to give some direction. But a lot of times them listening to it, like everybody cringes when they have to listen to themselves. It will help sometimes correct it on its own. So I'm saying that's like, worst case scenario is you just have them listen to their own phone calls and give them a little bit of guidance. It will help. It will improve. The majority of your calls, if you look at this dashboard report, this is just an example of what a dashboard report looks like for us, is the majority of the calls are almost always repeat calls. Okay, repeat callers are the majority of the time the largest volume of calls. So if your agency is giving you like an all-in number on, hey, you had 787 phone calls come in this month, the likelihood of 787 phone calls being new business is so slim, right? I mean, depending on, obviously what market you're in, what you're spending, but every single phone call being a lead is that's not what's going to happen. So the majority of that is going to be repeat business, especially unless you're, a brand new company, right? But if you're a few years in, the majority is going to be repeat. And here's what that means. That doesn't just mean repeat customers. Plenty of time you guys get phone calls where it's like somebody calls in and asks for an estimate, and then they say, okay, well, let me give you a call back. Or they try to schedule service and you can say, hey, we can get to you, on Thursday. And they say, okay, let me give you a call back. And they call back 2 days later and then they book. Well, what a lot of agencies do is they classify that as two leads, the first call and the second call. That's not two leads, right? That's the same lead. That's one lead. So you have to put the other one into the repeat caller category to make sure your numbers are actually black and white on point, real numbers. You can't skew it. But guess what? That's the easy way to do it. That's the easy way to do it, not the right way to do it, the easy way to do it. And it's a common thing that happens that we've had to deal with forever. You got to be able to scrub those into a repeat and referral category. Solicitors are like nonstop, right? So, and miscellaneous calls, even though they're no real value, you still have to classify them just to be able to account for them in the big number. So you put them aside. And then of course the CSR assessments. If you're listening to the phone calls every month anyhow, you might as well do an assessment on each CSR answering the phone. You're listening to them anyway, right? So you can identify if they have issues or something needs to be fixed. And I'll go through that a little bit later too, in a little bit more detail on things that you can do if it's you on your own trying to do it, or things that you can at least pass on to whomever to help coach them up. But these are some of the scrubbed things that you need to do is track by service. I mean, break it down: service, install, water heater, drain cleaning, sewer lines, electrical, roofing, whatever the heck it is, break it down by service and install, all right? But split out all the repeat and referral business that was not a new customer, okay? Let's only talk about brand new bookable service or install leads and run off of that number, because that's the number that's going to drive the business forward. Obviously with contact forms, same thing. It's pretty straightforward. You have a contact form that somebody submits, or they submit something through chat. If your chat functionality goes into a contact form, whatever it is, you got to capture it so you know if it was during hours, after hours, when it came in, who it was, what was the category, was it an install, a service, a drain cleaning? Ask the questions on your contact form. What is this? New equipment estimate. Are you a new customer? Yes or no? Pretty straightforward to allow you to know if that number should factor into your cost per lead or not. Then how did you hear about us? So if you want to put in a reference point in there. And then of course what the message is about. If I want a new install, a quote on installation, or I need a tune up, or I need a drain cleaning lead, or I need to book an appointment, whatever it is. So this one's pretty straightforward, but if you put in the right questions in your contact form, you can identify quickly if they're a new customer or not, just by asking the question, are you a new customer? Pretty straightforward. All right. And you might find some overlap there at times, but it's very minimal. So this keeps it super clean. Okay. Again, I preface this with, I don't do any print. I've never done anything with print. Okay. But I've done a ton of tracking. And so my mindset has always been, and I'm an old yellow page guy. I'm talking like back in the day, yellow page guy. Okay. And I was never near as good at that as I was digital, because I could track everything on the digital side. But the call tracking number made sense to me, right? So in this instance, use the call tracking number first and foremost. They're so cheap to get them anyway, but put it on there. Now on this example, it's probably a poor example because it has an 800 number. And I'm actually not a fan of using 800 numbers. you want to use a local number. 800 number can be a deterrent, but you want to use a local number, but just make sure it's a tracking number so somebody can listen to that call to find out how was that direct mail piece done. If they call you from it, right? The other thing is that on the bottom left-hand side is you see the abcpromo.com. You don't have to use your main domain name when you put it on a direct mail piece. Get a different one. Make it ABC, instead of abchvac.com, you use abcpromo.com. So that way, your agency, your digital marketing agency who has your Google Analytics can show you referral links coming into the site, so you'll be able to see who actually typed in abcpromo.com that came to your website, because all that domain name does is forward to your main website. You can buy as many of those as you want to use for marketing materials, so for print. Not sure how many people are typing in domain names now to go in, but if they do, at least you'll be able to track it. And then the last few things are just putting a unique offer on there. That's nothing earth-shattering. Like, you knew this. Put a unique offer on there that's specific to that. Or if you had to go to a restaurant lately, you got to pull your phone out and scan the damn QR code to get the menu. I don't know if it's annoying to you as it is to me. Listen, I'm on one side of that deal. Like, I'm super high risk. Okay. I don't want to keep scanning the QR code. Just hand me a menu, right? Just wipe it off. Hand me the menu so I can see what's up. But QR codes are coming back. It's like a thing. So you could also use QR codes or like a coupon code on these things to help track them that are unique to that piece. Okay. Just simple things, because we're talking about lead tracking and reporting that can help you definitively find out what came from that piece, whether it's a magazine, a newspaper, a yellow page ad, direct mail, whatever, door hanger, whatever it is. Put tracking measures on everything and just track it. Find out what the dollar is actually doing for you for that channel. And the last piece I want to show you on this, and it's a little bonus. If you've seen me give a presentation before, you've seen me play this. It's okay to give your business a personality. Be creative. I've seen so much cool creativity come out in the last 6 months on trying to set their business apart, because you could take more risks. In the social space, because so many more people are using social, you could put out all kinds of cool stuff and lots of it and just test it and see if it works. A/B test this offer, A/B test this offer. You can be funny. But the two key things you want to think about when you're being creative is it going to educate them? Is it going to entertain them, whoever's looking at it? If it does both, it's like the best of both worlds. That's what you want. If you can educate and entertain, you've hit the jackpot. Right? And I felt like Kmart did such a phenomenal job on this back in the day of getting creative and like kind of like towing the line in the gray area on, am I going to piss people off or not whenever I show this ad? But it was brilliant and it worked brilliant. It was an awesome marketing pitch. And this is just a good example of what they did.
Ship my pants right here. Ship my pants. You're kidding. You can ship your pants right here. You hear that? I can ship my pants for free.
Wow. I just may ship my pants.
Yeah, ship your pants. Billy, you can ship your pants too.
I can't wait to ship my pants, Dad.
I just shipped my pants, and it's very convenient.
Very convenient.
I just shipped my drawers.
I just shipped my nightie.
I just shipped my bed. If you can't find what you're looking for in store, we'll find it at Kmart.com right now and ship it to you for free.
I mean, that was good, right? Like, that's pretty good. It's funny. So I'll admit, my son was watching it. He has this thing memorized. It's funny. And it worked, and it was super creative. And it was them kind of stepping outside of the box and putting themselves out there, and the ad worked exceptionally well, because obviously Kmart was coming under attack by like the Walmarts and all this stuff. So it was a brilliant thing. I'm challenging you to step outside. And guess what? You don't have to do it. If you're not creative, there's a lot of agencies that are creative that can help you. Boom. There's a lot of agencies that can help you, that are creative, that can help you, that can come up with some ideas for you, and then even deploy it for you. It's finally working. So I encourage you to do something different. Step outside the norm and do it. I promise you there's a lot. I got to turn it off now. There's a lot of value in stepping outside of the box and learning new things about the business and what you can and can't do. You just got to test it out. So I need to connect the dots on something here. Anyone who uses, and this is something that we've had the challenge for a lot of years, is how to connect the dots with your field management software or your dispatch software or your QuickBooks or whatever you're using to capture your closed lead revenue, is you need to understand that you can't drive your business with your marketing only by that number. You have to look at the opportunities on the front end too, the missed opportunities. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. You have to see the entire picture. This is a customer of ours in Oklahoma who uses these dashboards to really drive their business and use metrics to help them, see how their CSRs are doing or their techs or their revenue, everything. But they also understand what the front end opportunity was before it got to this, right? Or how to pull in, like, what type of, were they closing at an 18%? If they're closing at an 18%, that's not your marketing agency's fault. It's your fault, right? And it's okay. You just got to recognize it and then use that to fix it. Be humble enough to know, like, you're not getting it done. Like, the marketing agency is doing their job because because they're tracking to every way I just told you, every new bookable service or install lead, the cost per lead, it's all looking good, but your closed revenue is this and your close ratio is this. That's not on them. That's on you. But at least by doing it this way, definitively what needs to be fixed. You got to track the front end opportunity to make sure you see what actually did that agency do for you, right? Are they legit doing a good job here? You cannot just rely on your field management software or your closed revenue to make that decision. It is not the right way to do it. You've got to look at both. Clearly the revenue is what drives the company, right? You might find that you can't get it figured out, and because you're losing too much revenue, it doesn't make sense. I get that. But if you look at the whole picture, you can start to find the holes on, man, I'm actually getting good lead volume at a low cost per lead, $48, $29, $78, depending on where you're at, whatever it is. And you might find that, man, I've actually got all this opportunity. I need to work on my CSRs. Oh man, I need to work on my guys going out in the field. They're not closing. Or, hey, my average ticket price is really low. We're noticing it's not. Like, this will expose that stuff for you. And that will help move the business forward because your agency can't close it for you. Now, I do believe we have the responsibility of giving you the quality of a lead. That certainly is on us or on your agency. But this allows you got to look at both. Okay, so, and all the best I can do is use an example for us is we have to go in and do it for you because a lot of times you don't do it. And that's part of being an actual partner, not just a vendor, all right, is you do it for them. You got to connect the dots so you can see the whole picture, all right? And so when you get on that monthly call that you should at least be having is you go over that whole picture and you identify it. There's accountability in that on both ends. But that's what you should expect from your agencies. You pay them a lot of money and you're paying them to bring in new business, right? So these are the things that they should be doing for you and you should hold them accountable to. Only time somebody doesn't want to do all this information or do all this work is because it's hard and it costs money and it takes more people. I get it. I own a business with a lot of employees, but that's if you look at it short-sighted. If you look at it long-term, like I got a long-term partnership, you do the work and you put in the effort because that's what partners do. Then you're no longer a vendor. You're a partner. That's how we've lasted this long in only the home services space is by doing things like this, going above and beyond because it's what's right for you. That's the only reason we're in business, to grow yours. That's it. These are the ways you get it done and you do it right. Last piece. If your CSRs fail, you fail them. And that's sometimes a brutal reality of the way it is, right? And maybe not you specifically, but if your CSRs fail, you failed them because it's on you to help them get better. It's on you to help them fix problems. It's on you to praise them when they do a good job. It's on you to help them learn how to handle objections. But it's on you. And you've got tools to do it. And again, don't take it personal. I'm not talking about you directly if this is on you. I'm just saying, do something about it. If you're listening to every single call, the human being factor that I keep talking about, if they're listening to every single phone call, they can catch that quick. If Mary missed a phone call and she blew an objection and you caught it 2 days later, that's a quick fix. Have Mary listen to that call that third day. And then hopefully Mary doesn't blow that call on day 4, day 5, and day 6 because you caught it right then and fixed it because the human being caught that right now. Because the human being heard the tone of the call. The human being heard why the call was missed, why she blew the objection. Okay, you catch those and you can fix them. And again, have them listen to their own phone calls. Is it painful? Absolutely. Nobody wants to hear themselves fail, right? Nobody wants to hear themselves fail. But when you do, you correct. You start to make corrections. If you're self-aware enough, you make corrections. And you want to give them, the grace, to get it right. And to maybe fail again and then try and listen to the call and fix it again. But if you listen to these calls like I'm telling you to, you're going to catch these things. And this is just a sidebar benefit to listening to all the calls for lead tracking. All right. I can't stress enough. to give good praise for good calls, right? When you hear good stuff, it's equally as good to not just beat up on them, to give them good praise, but also you're going to find out who are really key CSRs that you can use to train some of the others, right? Because you might have a bandwidth issue. So you'll hear who's doing a great job on overcoming objections, and hear who's does a really good job with tone, and their skill is really good on how to set up, to get the close. You'll find out from the, what's the booking rate, and you can find out the booking rate per CSR per marketing channel. You might find that Jim is really good, has a higher booking rate for pay-per-click leads than Mary. All right, because you'll listen to the call, and if you're listening to the PPC call that came in, and Jim's booking it at a 27% and Mary's booking it at 42%, maybe you put Mary on the PPC calls because she's booking at a higher rate. But at least you're making the decision based on facts, which is saving and making more money. So use that data. It's so important. It just baffles me that people still don't use that data as much. They still try and rely on pieces of software and keyword triggers and like listening to every third call. Go all in on it. Man, you'll make so much more than you will save in the expense of doing it. All right, and then the last piece of this is hold your answering services accountable. Man, I know there's probably a lot of you that want to punch your answering service in the face. I'm no different. There's a lot of them that I like to punch in the face, and I'm going to say this candidly, and most of you know me, I'm about as candid as they come. A lot of times, it's just find the one that's the least suckiest. It is what it is. I've been in this industry a long time and listened to thousands of after-hours answering services butcher leads that we've paid for. It's frustrating. So somebody's got to hold them accountable, right? And we do it as a company because we're listening to all the calls anyhow. And I am not going to let them butcher leads that we're both paying for because that disrupts our relationship and my partnership. And because I'm not just a vendor, I'm a partner, I'm looking out for you. But if your agency's not doing it, you need to do it. Somebody there needs to do it. Because you can't just trust that they're going to get it right. And listen, you can give grace. They're an after-hours agency. They're not going to care near as much as you do. Even though you're their client, they're not the owner of the company. They're not, so they're not going to care as much as you do. But you still got to hold them accountable. So back in the day, I tried to solve this problem because that's what I like to do is I try to do whatever I can to help my customers grow. So I thought, how difficult can it be to have an after-hours answering service? Because all these leads that are coming in through after hours close at a higher rate and they have higher revenue attached to them. It's like a dream. If a human being from your company answers the phone, that's the caveat. If a human being from your company actually answers the phone when the call comes in, doesn't let it roll to voicemail and then calls them back, actually answers the phone like this, hello, if you do that, you will win. The revenue is significantly greater if you do that. You might think, well, I don't want to pay this person from 5 to 9, to sit on the phone to maybe get 5 phone calls. Guaranteed that if you look at that over the course of that month, the revenue that comes from that, if they can book that lead, they can close it because it's pretty easier to close when you're the only one of few answering the phone. It is far greater than what you've spent, the expense that you spent, or the expense on having that person answering the phone. In fact, I tracked it for 2.5 years. If you answer the phone from 5 to 9, a human being from your company that actually answers that phone, it wins. It wins every time. So I encourage you to do that. And if it's your answering service doing it, and they're doing a poor job of it, at least be all over them about answering that phone from 5 to 9. And if anything else, turn it off in the evening. Whatever it is, whatever fits your model. But I promise you, if you have somebody from your own company answering that phone from 5 to 9, it's a victory. Recap: the power of partnerships. Please ask for help. That's what everybody's there for. Okay. That's what in Service Roundtable is a perfect example of people who vetted out partnerships. All right, how you must be tracking. Okay, now you know how, and then what you should be tracking. Right, you want to be tracking the new business versus repeat business versus what type of business, which channel did it come from, SEO, PPC, and then scrub that report so you know what came from it. How many new bookable service leads came in? How many new bookable drain cleaning leads came in? How many new bookable install leads came in? All right, and the same thing with tracking the print. Same thing, put the call tracking information on there we gave you, and then get creative. The 4 P's of marketing. Price, don't make them guess on if you want to give a price, if you don't want to give a price, whatever, there's arguments for both. But place, where do you do business? Okay, product, what do you do? And place, where do you do it? Add that 5th P, personality. Give your business a personality, okay? It's 2020. Like, things changed this year. Things have been crazy. Don't be afraid to give your business a personality. And then make sure you're looking at the big picture, right? You got to look at the front end opportunity along with your dispatch software or your field management system on the closed revenue, the back end closed revenue. You got to look at the holistic picture of what your money is doing to make an accurate decision what to do the next month and the next month moving forward. And of course, train your CSRs. You got to hold them accountable, right? Or your after hours answering services, you got to hold them accountable. But whatever you do, you have to listen to them and you got to hold them accountable. And what you can't do is take notes and come out of here all jacked up. Your ambition without action is useless. We say this over and over and over. Like, your intention is good. You're jacked up. You're fired up. You walk away and you're like, oh man, I got this list of things I'm going to do. And then you don't do anything. That's the worst case scenario. You just wasted your time. So I beg you, if you implement anything I just shared with you, I promise you, you will have next week will be more successful than this week. I thank you guys so much. Listen, I want to share with you quickly. We share this kind of information all the time on our podcast, the Home Services Podcast, to the point. You can download it on really any platform and listen to it. But as the owner of RYNO, I've been in the trades a long time. I have a lot of friends in the trades. We've had a lot of great success with a lot of you. It's all came and stemmed from tracking the data just like I shared with you. So I appreciate you guys, and I'll take any questions moving forward. Thank you.
Hello, friend.
All right. Well done, Chris. As an old marketing guy myself, I love your message, and I think people need to understand that you can't have guessing and a feel for what's going on when it comes to marketing. You've got to watch the numbers.
Amen.
Okay, there's a couple questions here. So the first one is, should I use different call tracking number for different offers or just for different marketing channels?
Yeah, so I think it's based on what you want to get from it. I'm a fan of tracking everything, right? If you're going to spend $1, why not see what the dollar is doing for you? If you're going to put out an offer, a specific offer, and you want to track how that offer is doing, then yeah, I mean, call tracking numbers are so cheap to get that I'm a fan of just tracking it. You know, you might as well spend the extra, $20 on the call tracking number and see exactly what that did for you.
Yeah. Yep. How do you really know when a customer is new versus repeat?
So, yeah, this is why I keep going back to, if you have a human being listening to it, and if somebody calls your business, and whoever's answering your phone says, hey, are you an existing customer or not? They're going to tell you the answer, right? Or a lot of times, if they're a repeat customer, they're going to call, even if you don't ask them, say, hey, I'm a repeat customer. And so that's the best way for you to do it, is just have your person ask, are you new are you a new customer or not? Same thing like with the contact form. It asks simply, are you a new customer or not? Yes or no. It's the cleanest way to get to an actual legit new customer that you can possibly get, human being.
I've got a question myself that I struggled with for a long time. And this was from watching our CSRs, trying to put tracking numbers on things, or we didn't really have tracking numbers at the time. We'd ask them where they got the number, the yellow pages, the phone, our billboards, our trucks, whatever. And CSRs would constantly put in bad information. We struggled with it forever. And we knew it was a training thing to start with, and we tried, but we still got bad numbers. Is that something you see still exist now, or was that a moment in time for me that just drove me crazy?
Man, I think that's pretty cleaned up by now.
Right.
Yeah, I remember, like, that was actually at the tail end of really the beginning of my career was the tail end of that for you guys, when I was in the yellow page game. But like, it's super clear right now. I mean, one thing I've ever seen now is everybody has to use a call tracking, like a call tracking number company. And you just got to hope that they don't have issues with their call tracking numbers.
Right.
We run into some of that thing with even some big vendors. But for the most part, like, it's pretty black and white right now. It's pretty clean cut.
Yeah, it's gotten the automation helped and the technology.
Yep.
One more. Why wouldn't I just hire a company that uses software with keyword triggers versus spending extra money using people?
Yep, of course. So, and I kind of talked about this early on too, is if you listen to it's like asking a robot to listen to your call and listen for keyword triggers. A robot isn't a human, can't feel like a human, right? Can't hear the tone of a call like a human, can't understand the setup for the delivery. Like if you're getting ready to make a sale on the call or what the customer's asking you. It can't hear like the actual setup of the call and the flow of the call. It doesn't understand those. And it can actually misrepresent what the keyword meant in the call. And so it's just not accurate. And trust me, if it was, I wouldn't have 55 people on a payroll, to have to pay for the team. It's just, and I've tried some of them before. It's just, there's no substitute for the human being piece of it. And everyone looks at it, everyone looks at it, Bob's like short-sighted on, man, but it's so expensive now. Yeah, but it's not when you look at it in the long run. It's because you're catching so much and fixing so much right then, and you have so much data right then from that human being that all those decisions result in big revenue.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, that is it for the questions. And so it looks like we're done here. I appreciate your time, you coming down here and helping us out with this. You're going to be in the Ask the Experts now?
Yep.
All right, so you can go there and talk to Chris some more. Thanks, Chris. We'll glad to have you.
And I appreciate it. Thanks so much. God bless.
All right, bye.